The way we work is changing so fast, it can feel dizzying sometimes.
It really can.
And artificial intelligence, AI, it's not just sci-fi anymore, is it? It's actively reshaping pretty much every industry.
Absolutely.
And that includes, well, the fundamental ways companies handle their people, human resources.
Definitely.
So for you, our listener, this session, this deep dive, is really zeroed in on exactly how HRM, human resource management, is evolving in this, well, AI-driven world.
That's right. We're going to get into the insights from Dr. Butterfield, whose work offers a really compelling perspective on this whole transformation.
Yeah.
We'll trace the journey of HRM, from its traditional roots
Right.
through that first wave of HR tech, HRS, HRM, HCM, all those acronyms.
Yeah, I remember those days.
And then really focus on Dr. Butterfield's vision for what's next, powered by things like generative AI, machine learning, and digital assistants.
And importantly, looking at how this plays out differently maybe for big companies versus the smaller ones, the SMEs.
Exactly. That's a crucial distinction.
So our mission here is to really understand this evolution. Where's HRM actually heading with AI sort of as a co-pilot? And, what does it mean practically for how businesses manage their teams?
And we're leaning heavily on Dr. Butterfield's work to kind of navigate this shift.
Okay, so let's start maybe at the beginning. What did HR even do in its, let's say, traditional form?
Well, at its core, traditional HRM was really centered on managing the employee life cycle.
The life cycle, okay.
Yeah, from hiring all the way through to retirement.
Yeah.
And handling the essential admin tasks, like
Yep.
employee benefits was a big one.
Right. The paperwork side of things.
Pretty much. But over time, the scope of HR just kept growing and growing.
It really ballooned, didn't it? That initial focus, it just expanded into this huge portfolio.
It did.
Suddenly, HR was doing recruitment, onboarding, setting up pay and benefits, managing performance, dealing with employee relations.
Well, the tricky stuff.
Yeah, organizing training, writing policies, trying to keep people engaged, making sure everything's legally compliant.
Which is a minefield in itself.
Oh, absolutely. And then even getting involved in strategic planning and being change agents. It's quite a list when you lay it all out.
It's incredibly comprehensive.
Yeah.
And as that workload got bigger and, frankly, more complex, the need for tech solutions became really obvious.
Makes sense.
So that led to things like Human Resource Information Systems, HRIS. Think of those as the first digital filing cabinets for employee info.
Okay, basic storage.
Right. Then came Human Resource Management Systems, HRMS, which built on that to actually manage core processes like payroll or benefits admin.
So a bit more active.
A bit more active, yeah.
Yeah.
And then later, Human Capital Management Systems, HCM, took an even broader view, talent management, employee development,
Okay.
looking at the whole human capital picture, as they call it.
Gotcha.
And initially, the main goal for all these systems was just managing and tracking data and automating some of those routine, repetitive tasks.
But there was always this sort of underlying promise, wasn't there, that if you automate the tedious stuff, the HR folks could actually spend more time on the human side,
Yeah.
making things more personal.
Exactly. That was the hope. And the sheer number of HR tech tools that popped up really shows this drive. I mean, by 2021, someone counted like 75 different categories of tools
Wow.
and maybe 2,700 separate apps just for HR functions.
That's a lot of apps.
It is. And a lot of them were already using machine learning,
Oh.
computers learning from data and digital assistants like chatbots.
Okay.
Now, with more advanced AI, especially generative AI, the kind that can create stuff like text or images becoming cheaper and easier to use, the potential for change is, well, even bigger.
So AI arrives on the scene promising all sorts. What are the main benefits we keep hearing about for HR specifically?
Well, the common narrative, the stuff you hear most often, is about automating routine tasks, obviously.
Right, the efficiency play.
Exactly. Finding the right people faster, better talent acquisition, making onboarding smoother and maybe more tailored, improving training, making it more personal, giving employees better self-service options so they don't always have to ask HR for basic info.
That'd be nice.
And ultimately, the big hope is higher employee retention, keeping people happy and productive.
It definitely paints a picture of a much slicker, more efficient HR function. But Dr. Butterfield's work also pushes us to step back a bit, doesn't it? And ask some basic questions like, what is HR actually supposed to be doing today?
That is such a crucial point he raises. It's surprisingly hard to find one single, universally agreed upon definition of HR.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. We can list all the activities, managing the life cycle, benefits, all that stuff we mentioned.
Mhm.
But clear, fundamental definition. It's kind of elusive. And maybe that lack of clarity explains why we've seen so many different HR models developed over the years. Everyone's trying to frame it.
Right, like trying to pin it down. So there's no one answer, but people have tried to create frameworks. The Ulrich model is probably the most famous one.
Yes, the Ulrich model from Dave Ulrich.
Yeah.
It proposed those 4 key roles: strategic partner, change agent, administrative expert, and employee champion.
I've read those terms.
Yeah, they're quite well known. And it's interesting. The big consulting firms, EY, Deloitte, KPMG, McKinsey, Mercer, they've all come up with their own sort of similar frameworks too.
And these models, they often talk about those structural bits we see in big HR departments, right? Like shared services, centers of excellence, HR business partners.
Exactly. Those are the common building blocks. They try to give a structure for organizing HR. But Dr. Butterfield points out something important.
What's that?
While these structures get mentioned a lot, there's often not much practical detail on how to actually make them work effectively day to day.
Ah, okay. So the theory's there, but the how-to is missing.
Kind of.
Right.
And the focus still tends to be on fitting HR into those traditional top-down company structures.
So it's like we're often focused on the bricks, the HR departments, the roles, but maybe not enough on the mortar, the processes, the way people actually work together, the quality of what HR delivers.
That's a perfect analogy. Dr. Butterfield really emphasizes shifting focus from structure to how HR operates, the day-to-day reality, and the actual quality of HR services.
Okay.
And that relationship, the collaboration between HR and managers, becomes absolutely critical. HR needs to be an enabler, not just the sole driver of people stuff.
That feels like a pretty big mindset shift. So how does Dr. Butterfield suggest we redefine HR's role then?
He offers a redefined role. HR should co-create successful business outcomes with management.
Co-create. Okay.
Yeah. By figuring out and aligning the right people and skills with what the business needs to achieve. And this happens through a collaborative relationship involving HR, managers, the workforce itself, and crucially now AI.
Okay, so less HR doing its own thing in a silo, more like an integrated partner working with everyone, including the tech, to hit business goals.
Precisely.
Now, Dr. Butterfield also talks about these 3 types of HR activity: administering, optimizing, and connecting. Can you unpack that a bit?
Yes, this is a really useful way to think about it. He suggests all HR work falls into roughly 3 buckets.
Okay.
There's administering, that's the basic transactional stuff, keeping the lights on, essentially.
Payroll, basic record keeping,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Exactly. Then there's optimizing. That's about making things better, improving processes, increasing efficiency.
Streamlining recruitment funnels, maybe?
Good example.
Yeah.
And the third is connecting. This is about building relationships, fostering the company culture, collaboration.
The softer, more human stuff.
You could say that. And each category needs different thinking, different skills from HR pros. His work even uses some visuals to show how these activities and relationships differ, almost hinting at different parts of the brain being involved.
Interesting. And where does AI fit into those 3 buckets right now?
Well, currently, AI tools in HR are generally much better at the administering and optimizing tasks.
Right, the process-driven stuff.
Exactly. Think AI for automating payroll calculations. That's administering. Or using algorithms for initial resume screening. That's optimizing.
Makes sense.
But Dr. Butterfield adds a word of caution here. Just automating your existing processes with AI might not be the best move,
Why is that?
especially if those processes aren't actually very effective in the first place. Automating a bad process just makes you do the wrong thing faster. Right?
Yeah, good point. Garbage in, faster garbage out.
Pretty much. You need to fix the process, then think about how AI can help.
Okay, that's crucial. Now, going back to that Ulrich model idea, HR as a strategic business partner, how can AI help make that happen? Because that's been a challenge, hasn't it?
It really has, especially for smaller businesses, SMEs, that just don't have big HR teams or budgets.
Right.
And sometimes traditional strategic HR, or SHRM, got a bit too bogged down in just compliance and avoiding risk.
Covering the basics, but maybe not adding huge strategic value.
Perhaps. Dr. Butterfield suggests AI can actually help bring those concepts like centers of excellence, offering deep expertise, and shared service centers, handling transactions efficiently to life more effectively, even for smaller firms,
Also,
by enabling HR to be more proactive. AI can handle routine queries, freeing up HR people. It can analyze data to spot trends, allowing HR to offer insights and support that fosters motivation and engagement, not just ensures compliance. That's how it becomes more strategic.
Okay, so AI takes the load off, allowing HR to focus higher up the value chain.
That's the idea.
You mentioned a quick preview of AI already in use. Any examples?
Yeah, we're seeing bots, chatbots using text and voice bots popping up everywhere, right?
So,
Customer service, e-commerce, virtual assistants,
sure, they're becoming common.
and they're getting smarter with deep learning AI. HR is starting to use them too, but Dr. Butterfield notes their use is often still quite limited, maybe just answering basic questions during recruitment, that kind of thing. Still quite siloed.
But the bigger vision, Dr. Butterfield's vision, is for AI to go way beyond these niche tasks.
Exactly. It's about AI taking over a lot of the administering and optimizing workload
Right.
so that human HR expertise can focus on the really strategic stuff, like digging into why employees are disengaged or why people are quiet quitting, instead of just dealing with the symptoms, getting to the root causes.
That sounds much more impactful. Now let's talk SMEs versus the big corporations. How does Dr. Butterfield see AI impacting HR differently in those contexts? Are the challenges the same?
Well, both face similar big picture challenges,
Yeah.
adapting to tech changes, market shifts, new workforce expectations like
Yeah,
hybrid
fair.
work, work-life balance.
Everyone's dealing with that.
Right. And
Yeah.
HR is central to navigating all of that, regardless of size.
But HR in an SME often looks very different from HR in a giant multinational. It's usually much more informal, right? Fewer resources.
That's a key difference. In many SMEs, HR is handled informally, maybe by the owner or an office manager, just due to limited resources.
So what's the AI opportunity there?
Dr. Butterfield sees a huge opportunity for AI to help these smaller businesses formalize and streamline their HR, get things organized, move away from just ad hoc practices, make employee support more consistent and maybe more predictable. His work actually compares HR and SMEs and large firms across things like scope, resources, flexibility, personalization, strategic focus. It highlights these differences.
Okay, so for SMEs, it's about structure and efficiency gains. What about the big players, the ones with established HR departments?
Even though they usually have dedicated HR functions, AI can still be really valuable. It can help break down those internal silos you often get between different HR specialties or between HR and other departments,
Better collaboration.
hopefully. Dr. Butterfield stresses the need for these big companies to move beyond just top-down, compliance-focused HR and really work on genuine employee engagement and creating a more unified collaborative culture. AI can support that data analysis and communication.
So interesting. Whether you're big or small, the core message seems to be understand your work processes first, then figure out how AI fits in. Don't just slap AI onto existing ways of doing things.
Exactly that. That's really Dr. Butterfield's central argument. Know what effective work looks like and what outcomes you want before you implement AI in HR. Make sure the tech actually supports good work, not just automates potentially flawed activities.
Which implies we probably need to move beyond some of those older HR models we discussed, the purely compliance-driven ones, or the very linear HR as the expert model.
Absolutely. Dr. Butterfield argues strongly for ditching those rigid, outdated models. We need to embrace concepts like one team or one firm
Yeah.
organizations, meaning HR has to fully embrace collaboration and start addressing the whole person needs of employees, not just their function or role.
That's a big cultural shift. It's fascinating he brings in examples like Donald Trump's social media use in 2016, or that AI Yoon thing in the South
Yeah.
Korean election. What's the HR takeaway there? They seem unrelated.
They seem unrelated. But the point is about using technology maybe unconventionally to
Yeah.
connect directly with an audience in a rapidly changing world.
Ah, okay.
Dr. Butterfield uses them to provoke thought. What can HR learn from these examples about adapting fast and using tech strategically to engage their audience employees, potential hires?
So using tech not just for efficiency, but for connection and engagement in new ways.
Precisely. Which links back to those three activities.
Yeah.
AI can handle lots of administering and optimizing,
Right.
but that connecting part, the social stuff, the collaboration, that's still deeply human. Though tech, used thoughtfully, can definitely support and enhance it.
But we need to be careful, right? There are risks with AI too.
Oh, definitely. And Dr. Butterfield is clear on that. Poorly implemented AI can lack nuance, emotional intelligence.
Mhm.
It doesn't truly understand human complexities. The need for a human in the loop, for important decisions, for empathy, that's still paramount.
So it's a tool, not a replacement for human judgment and connection. What does all this mean for HR professionals themselves? What skills do they need for this future?
It means developing new skills and, maybe more importantly, new mindsets. Moving beyond just being the functional expert in, say, compensation or recruitment,
Towards what?
towards agility, being adaptable, towards genuine collaboration across the business, and having a really strong customer focus, thinking of employees and candidates as customers. Dr. Butterfield touches on this shift, where HR becomes more about strategy, analyzing data, being a true enterprise partner who gets the bigger business picture.
Okay, so quite a transformation for the profession itself, too.
A significant one.
Right, so just to quickly recap, we've looked at how HRM has evolved, seen the limits of some older models today, and really dug into Dr. Butterfield's vision for an AI-powered HR future, focusing on administering, optimizing, and that crucial connecting piece.
And we've touched on how that might look different for SMEs compared to the big corporations.
Exactly. Which leads us to a final thought, really, for you, our listener, to chew on.
Yes.
How can organizations really, truly reimagine their HR? Move beyond just automating what they already do and actually use AI strategically to build workplaces that are more efficient, yes, but also more engaged, more productive, and more focused on people both inside and outside the company.
It's a big question. And maybe the starting point is taking Dr. Butterfield's advice seriously. Rethink the work itself from the ground up for this new era. Don't just digitize the old ways.
A fundamental rethink. And look, this conversation isn't over.
No, there's more to come.
Dr. Butterfield has promised a follow-up where we'll get into even more concrete examples AI in administering, coordinating, connecting activities, plus tackling the risks head-on and ensuring we keep things human-centric.
That will be really important, covering the practicalities and the safeguards.
Absolutely. So definitely stay tuned for that next dev dive.